This article is by Hillary Clinton. It's not the hypocrisy that bothers me, it's the stupidity. We're all shocked that President Trump and his team don't actually care about protecting classified information or federal record retention laws. But we knew that already. What's much worse is that top Trump administration officials put our troops in jeopardy by sharing military plans on a commercial messaging app and unwittingly invited a journalist into the chat. That's dangerous, and it's just dumb. This is the latest in a string of self-inflicted wounds by the new administration that are squandering America's strength and threatening our national security. Firing hundreds of federal workers charged with protecting our nation's nuclear weapons is also dumb. So is shutting down efforts to fight pandemics just as a deadly Ebola outbreak is spreading in Africa. It makes no sense to purge talented generals, diplomats, and spies at a time when rivals like China and Russia are trying to expand their global reach. In a dangerous and complex world, it's not enough to be strong. You must also be smart. As Secretary of State during the Obama administration, I argued for smart power, integrating the hard power of our military with the soft power of our diplomacy, development assistance, economic might, and cultural influence. None of those tools can do the job alone. Together, they make America a superpower. The Trump approach is dumb power, instead of a strong America using all our strengths to lead the world and confront our adversaries. Mr. Trump's America will be increasingly blind and blundering, feeble and friendless. Let's start with the military, because that's what he claims to care about. Don't let the swagger fool you. Mr. Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, of group chat fame, are apparently more focused on performative fights over wokeness than preparing for real fights with America's adversaries. Does anyone really think deleting tributes to the Tuskegee Airmen makes us more safe? The Trump Pentagon purged images of the plane that dropped the atomic bomb that ended World War II because its name is the Enola Gay. Dumb. Instead of working with Congress to modernize the military's budget to reflect changing threats, the president is firing top generals without credible justification. 5 former secretaries of defense, Republicans and Democrats, rightly warned that this would undermine our all-volunteer force and weaken our national security. Mass layoffs are also hitting the intelligence agencies. As one former senior spy put it, we're shooting ourselves in the head, not the foot. Not smart. If they're this reckless with America's hard power, it's no surprise that they're shredding our soft power. As a former Secretary of State, I am particularly alarmed by the administration's plan to close embassies and consulates, fire diplomats, and destroy the U.S. Agency for International Development. Let me explain why this matters, because it's less widely understood than the importance of tanks and fighter jets. I visited 112 countries and traveled nearly 1 million miles as America's top diplomat, and I have seen how valuable it is for our country to be represented on the ground in far-flung places. The U.S. military has long understood that our forces must be forward deployed in order to project American power and respond quickly to crises. The same is true of our diplomats. Our embassies are our eyes and ears informing policy decisions back home. They are launchpads for operations that keep us safe and prosperous, from training foreign counter-terrorism forces to helping U.S. companies enter new markets. China understands the value of forward-deployed diplomacy, which is why it has opened new embassies and consulates around the world and now has more than the United States. The Trump administration's retreat would leave the field open for Beijing to spread its influence uncontested. Diplomats win America friends, so we don't have to go it alone in a competitive world. That's how my colleagues and I were able to rally the United Nations to impose crippling sanctions against Iran's nuclear program and ultimately force Tehran to stop its progress toward a bomb. Something Mr. Trump's bluster has failed to do. He actually defunded inspectors keeping an eye on Iranian research sites. Dumb. Diplomacy is cost-effective, especially compared with military action. Preventing wars is cheaper than fighting them. Mr. Trump's own former Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis, a retired Marine Corps 4-star general, told Congress, "If you don't fund the State Department fully, then I need to buy more ammunition." Our development assistance has always been a small portion of the federal budget, but it also has an outsized impact on international stability, especially paired with effective diplomacy. When American aid dollars help stop a famine or an outbreak, When we respond to a natural disaster or open schools, we win hearts and minds that might otherwise go to terrorists or rivals like China. We reduce the flow of migrants and refugees. We strengthen friendly governments that might otherwise collapse. I don't want to pretend that any of this is easy, or that American foreign policy hasn't been plagued by mistakes. Leadership is hard, but our best chance to get it right and to keep our country safe is to strengthen our government, not weaken it. We should invest in the patriots who serve our nation, not insult them. Smart reforms could make federal agencies, including the State Department and USAID, more efficient and effective. During the Clinton administration, my husband's Reinventing Government initiative, led by Vice President Al Gore, worked with Congress to thoughtfully streamline bureaucracy, modernize the workforce, and save billions of dollars. In many ways, it was the opposite of the Trump administration's slash-and-burn approach. Today, they are not reinventing government, they're wrecking it. All of this is both dumb and dangerous. And I haven't even gotten to the damage Mr. Trump is doing by cozying up to dictators like Russia's Vladimir Putin, blowing up our alliances, force multipliers that extend our reach and share our burdens, and trashing our moral influence by undermining the rule of law at home, or how he's tanking our economy and blowing up our national debt. Propagandists in Beijing and Moscow know we are in a global debate about competing systems of governance. People and leaders around the world are watching to see if democracy can still deliver peace and prosperity or even function. If America is ruled like a banana republic, with flagrant corruption and a leader who puts himself above the law, we lose that argument. We also lose the qualities that have made America exceptional and indispensable. If there's a grand strategy at work here, I don't know what it is. Maybe Mr. Trump wants to return to 19th century spheres of influence. Maybe he's just driven by personal grudges and is in way over his head. As a businessman, he bankrupted his Atlantic City casinos. Now he's gambling with the national security of the United States. If this continues, a group chat foul will be the least of our concerns, and all the fist and flag emojis in the world won't save us.